At the peak of its popularity, the show just vanished.
I just want to ask our governors and whom it concerns, us loggers in North Carolina, we're hurting right now, and we need some help.
For nearly a decade after the cameras stopped rolling, Bobby Goodson kept doing something almost nobody in reality TV ever does. He kept living the exact same life the show had captured. No pivot, no spin-off, no reinvention. Then one day in 2022, he sat down and told his followers something that stopped a lot of people mid-scroll. Most fans remember Bobby Goodson from Swamp Loggers, the Discovery Channel series that ran from 2009 into the early 2010s and followed his family's operation, Goodson's all-terrain logging, hauling timber out of the wetlands of eastern North Carolina. It wasn't staged drama. It was Bobby, his son Justin, his wife Lori, and a crew of operators doing one of the hardest jobs in America, with the cameras simply there to record it. When the show ended, Bobby didn't chase another TV deal or try to turn his newfound recognition into a media career. He went back to the swamp and kept logging, the same way his father and grandfather had before him. He was a fourth-generation logger. His son was already the fifth. For years, that continuity was the whole point. But the business itself was never an easy one. Swamp logging requires specialized, expensive equipment built to survive wet, unstable ground, and that gear takes a beating no matter how well it's maintained. Add fuel, insurance, payroll, and the cost of hauling loads out of terrain most operators wouldn't attempt, and the margins were always thin. Bobby kept it running anyway for decades, long after the show stopped airing. What eventually broke that streak wasn't any single disaster. It was everything landing at once. In the years following the pandemic, fuel prices climbed sharply, in some cases more than doubling within a matter of months. For a company running a fleet of trucks and heavy machinery every single day, that kind of spike doesn't just cut into profit, it can erase it entirely. Bobby later said plainly that when diesel costs that much, some hauls stop making financial sense before the truck even reaches the mill. In May of 2022, after 37 years in business, Bobby Goodson announced that Goodson's all-terrain logging was closing. He posted the news himself, directly to the people who'd followed his family's story for years, and he didn't dress it up. He talked about the fuel costs, the rising price of equipment, and the truck shortages that had made it impossible to keep the operation profitable. He said there simply wasn't a way out anymore. What made the moment resonate beyond his own fans was what he did with it. Bobby didn't just announce his own closure, he used the moment to speak for an entire industry. He pointed out that he wasn't alone, that loggers across the country were quietly going through the same thing, and he called for real attention to what independent logging operations were up against. In the days afterward, he said other loggers reached out to him from all over, saying the same pressures had already pushed them out, or were about to. There's something worth sitting with in how he handled it. This was a business his family had built across 4 generations, one his son was already part of, and his grandchildren might have carried forward. Bobby said it himself. It was a legacy they'd worked on for years, and the circumstances had made it impossible to pass on. That's not a small thing to say out loud, in public without softening it. He didn't disappear afterward either. He stayed on social media, kept talking to the people who'd supported him, and kept being exactly who he'd always been: direct, unpretentious, and honest about hard things instead of hiding from them. Bobby Goodson's story isn't really about a TV show ending. It's about what happened in the decade after, when nobody was filming a family business built over generations, run with real pride, and closed not because anyone stopped trying, but because the numbers simply stopped working. That's a harder story to tell than the one that aired on Discovery. It might also be the more honest one.